Back to the Arbitrage.Run show with myself, Donkey Teeth, and Kevin from Arbitrage Racing. It's Lucky Maiden week, and we're recording this on Thursday. So Lucky Maiden is wrapping up, and tomorrow night in the U.S., we're going to have the Lucky Maiden Grand Finals running, huh, Kevin?
Yeah, it's always a fun grind meeting these new horses, having that rush, and then running them for 20
And disappointment,
races.
mostly disappointment, right?
It is some sadness, but we got some good ones this time, like we'll touch on. But yeah, always fun. It's always my favorite part of the game is breeding horses, and then seeing you got another killer.
The new ones, yeah.
Yep.
So we've got a pretty jam-packed show here. We're going to try to move fast through it. Off the top, we're going to talk about quick update on the Arbitrage.Run site. We've got the historical pricing page up. Just want to show everybody that real quick and what they're looking at. Then we're going to dive in on. We're going to talk a little bit about Zed's current scheduling. We want to try to bring something for everybody in this, in case there's some people listening that aren't in the Lucky Maiden, because then we're going to dive into Lucky Maiden review. We're going to spin the wheel to see who won the raffle from people that bought our horses. And one of those people is going to get 10% of our stable profits from the Lucky Maiden, which looking like we might have a decent run. We'll see. And then we're going to talk about one really nice horse that we bred somewhat recently. We're going to do keeping it real. We got to spin the lending wheel, and we've got a special guest coming on next week that we want to announce too. But we'll just tease that real quick here and dive in, because that's a lot of stuff to get through, Kevin. All right. So I'm gonna present my screen here. So over here on Arbitrage.Run, we've been talking about this for months now. We finally got this historical pricing page, so you can see it here, and it's being listed as most recent breeds up top. We've discussed making this sortable, and we might, but we figured it was most useful to show the most recent up top. You can see the price that these were sold for, and the males they're showing in blue. This is just the stud fee that we booked it at, and the females, this is the female breed fee. And you can sort through all of this and try to find anything that you're looking for on your end there. So pretty intuitive here, I think, Kevin. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. What do you think?
Yeah, it's great. I think it's good to give you guys just something to index on in terms of what is the market for these horses, so you're not totally shooting in the dark.
Yeah, it's a quickly changing market, as we always discuss, and so having the most recent prices there is pretty helpful, and it's something that everybody had asked for in the past. But enough about that. Hopefully people dive in and play around and see if they can find something at the price point that they're looking for. Again, we're working on the distance preference update, so you'll be able to sort a little bit better than in the past to find, a sprinter or marathon or whatever you're looking for at your price point. But let's dive in on a little bit of talk about the current Zed scheduling. I know some people have been voicing a little bit of displeasure with the fact that well, I think that the biggest thing that I've seen out there in social media is people not happy with these paid pity points, which I know you enjoyed when they started. I'm not sure if you're still enjoying them now that there's 2 a week.
Yeah, they were good as a one-off, or even like a once a week would be okay. They're they're good as a novelty. I don't think I like them in a multi-week schedule. They just become quite the grind, I would say. Just paid races, like the way paid tournaments are currently set up, is a real grind, because you have the 3 you can enter at once, but then there's a lag for them to run. There's a lag, especially like in class 1, you feel it, where you're just waiting on the next one to populate. So if you're running 1 or 2 horses, it's fine. I mean, it's no problem running 5 or 10 a day. But if you're trying to run like we do, 10, 20, 30 horses, the free ones are nice because you just pop it in, the next one populates, you can just do, and then wait 5 minutes and they're back up. This is just a much more drawn out process where there's only so many paid races in a day. So if we were running our full roster, we'd have to be in like 80% of the class 1 races that pop at certain distances, which is just a total grind. And I like it as a change up. It's good once or maybe even twice a week, but we're getting into the schedule now where you are grinding all day 3 or 4 times a week. And then a chunk of those are ones where you're the all 12 payouts. So you're doing this, and then the most you can make is like, I don't know, $100 for a horse if they win it all. And most of the time you're winning like $2. So I think everything has its place. I think the current schedule has overweighted the paid racing, especially paid pity. I think we can move it back, reinvigorate it with some of the in-class free races. Those are the ones that seem to be either intentionally or unintentionally left out right now. And I think a lot of people enjoy those just as a change up. So I think the intention was good. People like paid pity, maybe dial it back a bit and add those in-class free races again, just to spice it up a bit.
Yeah, not everybody's gonna like everything, right? I liked the paid pity because I'm not doing the heavy lifting like you are, and trying to qualify 30 of our horses. I've got like 5 of them that I'll run, and so for me, it's easy, right? I can slap them in 3 races, all 5 of them in 3 races, and then leave and come back in 4 hours. They've all run, and I can do it again, and I'm done. So I think for a certain segment of users that does work, and then for others it doesn't. So it's a tough task, especially when you've got everyone's so opinionated, and things change fast. They're gathering data, so I appreciate what they're trying to do, but
Yeah,
it's really
I
tough.
think you kind of had to. They were on this end of the spectrum. Now they've pendulum to the other side, and we'll probably dial it back some. But like anytime you look at the results now and you see Artois and RSB in a pity final, or even have like Diamonds winning a quarterfinal pity A race, something's not right. Like the outcome is not meeting the intention, whether it be people just aren't doing paid racing because they're tired of having these multiple times a week. So if you just run 5 paids, you get in. Um, that output is just not matching what they intended to do. So I think there needs to be some tweaks.
Yeah, the format, and this is a little bit tangent, but we're talking about it. The format that I really did enjoy was the less than 5% paid win rate one. And I think they could do a lot with that type of conditional formatting, make it less than whatever free racing, or so many different ways to do it, but putting it in open class and getting paid racing going that way.
Yeah, open class paid racing is nice, and then that one was probably my favorite, just because you were running all these new horses that are, I guess, old horses, but you just don't run very often because there's no way to make money with them, and it's $2 here and there, so you're not making a ton in the actual paid racing segment, but it's fun to get horses out on the track that don't normally run for you, and like you said, it doesn't have to be the 5% paid racing because there's still plenty of really good horses who can't win at 5%, but why not do a 0% minimum of 10 paid races, who've just never won, but you've tried and lost, and have that as your segment? Like you could do anything with it, right?
Yeah, I think it gets a little tricky. They'd have to make it like lock before the start, right? Because then you win one and suddenly
Well,
you're above the threshold, right?
yeah, that's true. Yes, you'd have to lock it in before. I think that when they did the 5%, was it a free qualifying? And then I think it was free, but the cutoff was a 5% paid.
Paid. Right.
So you could do that all day, no problem. But yeah, if you introduce paid segments on the open class, you would have to lock it at the beginning. It'd be the worst if you kind of won your way into qualifying, but then by your 5th race, you were out of it because you were above a 5% paid. That would potentially be something the old Zed would have done, but hopefully we're past those
You know,
tweaks.
here's an interesting thought that just popped in my mind, and maybe it's really stupid, but what if they, and maybe it's too complex for them to program, but what if you just needed one paid race and 4 free, and instead of requiring the 5, makes it kind of a lower bar, and you can run those like at the same, you just pop it in the one paid to they get them to kind of stimulate that area of the economy, and then you don't have to work on it all day and grind them out, right?
Yeah, like in the actual class system currently,
Hmm.
or yeah,
Yeah,
that could work. Or you have a minimum of 2. You would
two,
probably have
one, two.
people run one paid and like 9 frees and prop up their standing because the cut lines are much lower in the paid. So if you were really trying to optimize it, you would reward people for grinding. They would do the one paid and as many frees as they needed to get above the cut line.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, interesting. The other thing I wanted to talk about before we do dive in on the Lucky Maiden recap here is the World Cup event, and I don't know if you've dug in on like the rules for how it's all going to work. I haven't, and I can just cut this out of the show if you haven't. But have you?
I have. I mean, I think the idea is a good one. My understanding is basically you buy, I get on the list and you buy a skin essentially, which the skin is your access to that NFT is the access to the contest and all the contests attached with the event. So there's the element of like which which skin am I going to pull, which country am I going to be representing. If you don't like it, I guess you could resell and have somebody who wants to represent that country. But then there's the extra layer to it, which is kind of the gambling or fantasy aspect of it, where, as I understand it, if your team, your country does well, then you can advance to future contests. So there's some element of like, I want to get the best football teams that skin, or I just want the coolest skin and go for like the first few contests. So there's multiple ways to play. I think it's fun. It was a good idea. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, okay. I won't cut this out, but we don't know what's going on. We're procrastinators. We'll read the rules at the last minute and figure out what we're doing.
We did the allow list. We're locked in to get as many as we can, and then once we secure the goods, we'll figure out how to best run
A strategy.
horses for it.
Yeah. I did see people saying that they're just going to try to get the skin that you've got, Kevin. Get on your team.
There you go.
Decent strategy.
Yep.
It's fun though, and I mean, there was a lot of criticism out there on Twitter because not all the money's going back into the prize pool. I personally don't have an issue with that. I mean, if you do, don't buy it. But I appreciate that Zed's trying to do creative, new, fun things and stimulate the Zed world in that way, right?
Yeah, I won't touch too much on that. I know it's a hot topic, but yeah, I think you could do that math on a lot of things in the world, and it would come out much less consumer friendly than it came out in this instance. So I will personally be buying as many as I can and looking forward to the event.
Yeah, it's the spirit of the event. But enough about that. Let's dive in on our Lucky Maiden recap. So, Kevin, I ran the numbers here before the show, and we entered 25 horses. As I said, I don't know if you watched my preview show. You probably didn't waste your time on that.
I didn't watch it.
But
no, I'm just kidding.
we entered 25 horses, and a lot of them are terrible as usual. But we had some really good ones. We ended up with 3 of ours that are going to be in the overall top 12 grand final. I guess I can pull up the a leaderboard while we're talking about it and show what we're looking at here. But it looks like our best qualifier is going to be Fat Mortal, which is a creation of mortals and Buttery offspring. And Buttery was the mother of Pound of Fat as well. So interesting there. It's good to see Buttery produce a second good offspring because it's been a lull for Buttery, hadn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard with the females, right? You're only getting 1 a month, so you hit 2 in a row and that aren't good, and you feel like you haven't hit in forever. But this one does give some Pound of Fat vibes. I don't think it's as good as Pound of Fat, but definitely that same mold, which suits very well for a Lucky Maiden qualifying, at least.
All right, so we buried the lead here, Kevin, but this horse here, Zero Chaos, we actually bred this one as a build-a-breed, and this is like one of our 2 build-a-breeds that we've done in the past month. Everyone's just been asking for female breeds and studs from us recently, and it turned out to be a monster. This one's coming from Grandeur Plan and Ready Set Supreme. We bred this for Phantom Fury stable. Is it Phantom Fury? I'm not sure. Phantom something stable, and I think we charged him 0.85 Ethereum price is $1,300 today. The breakdown on that fee was 0.4 stud fee for Grandeur Plan and 0.45 female breed fee for Ready Set Supreme. It looks really good. I'll pull up the Haku page here for this horse, and
yeah, 436. 436 is a really high score in this format. I think if you won every single race, you'd have 500 of the first 20. So it's not too far out of that. Not a ton of variance, but I mean, with that L shape, that's insane. I don't care who you're racing against.
Yeah, so the buyer reached out to me about it yesterday, very excited, as he should be. And I kind of said that it reminds me of how our horse Perfect Take started. I don't know, is that a reasonable count? Perfect Take was a Z2 legendary, but it won all 10 of its discoveries.
I think it's similar. I think this one's better than Perfect Take would be my take. I think it had a slightly worse discovery. Like it didn't go 10 for 10. But yeah, that's a reasonable comp. I think it's probably just a slightly better version of that. I mean, and what gets me most excited about this horse, I think it's probably what they saw when they designed the breed, and it's one we would have done if they had not. Where you have Grandeur Plan, which just Grandeur figured it out, and then you have Ready Set Supreme, who is obviously Ready Set Boom and Supreme Polarity, and that's just, I mean, I'm biased, but probably one of the best exclusive lines you can make on the marathon funnel. So that's just not terribly surprising to see this. It's definitely one we're going to run back and keep in house. But yeah, they hit the nuts here with it being a Philly as well, and nice coat color.
Yeah, we might just marry these two together. Um, but yeah, the request came through, and I remember you were like, "Wow, that's a perfect pairing." We probably would have landed on this pairing ourselves as we were looking for pairings for Grandeur Plan. But happy to get this into another stable's hands. And I don't know, Kevin, what do you think as far as valuation on this horse? Like, if we owned it, where would you? If somebody came and said, "I'll give you, I don't know, 4 ETH for it," would you be selling?
4 would be a no. I think I'd buy it at 4. I think I wouldn't even think about it really till like 6 if I were selling. Um, I think it still has a ton of upside left. It's got the upside meaning, like, at least with 2.0 and how I understand it or how I think about it. If it starts like this, you still have the upside in play in terms of it being close to one of its Genesis grandparents. Um, and I think it actually could be trending fairly closely to like Grandeur Plan, like just straight up the dad. There's not enough variance for it to be a paid killer, but in future environments, it seems like they're wanting stability, and this has all the stability. It has the lineage to have huge upside, and it has proven performance, winning 14 of its first whatever, to clearly have that odds to win in its favor.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, and I think everybody appreciates the valuation thoughts on stuff like that. So anyway, we qualified 3 of our own for the grand final. One of them was Genesis, and then this one that we sold qualified number 1, and then we also bred the number 10 horse on the list for my brother-in-law, and that's Triumph for Bay. Triumph for Bay, yeah, comes from your old horse, Ignorance Bay, which you sold to him. Triumph for Bay. And this is a cross that it reminds me a lot of Triumph for Saber that we bred from Triumph. I mean, all these damn Triumph names coming from Triumph for Hours and Triumph for Molly down the line. They're all so good, but this is a really good cross that came out, isn't it?
Yeah, that one looks awesome. Ignorance Bay is like a sneaky good 1.0 breeder. I mean, it has the other one with the I think F in the Bay or something with F in the chat,
Yeah,
and that was
that's the
a
one.
very solid mid to marathoner. Now it's proving it can breed with marathoners as well and produce that. So it's really interesting to me when you find a particularly 1.0 that can kind of breed mids when they're breeding with mids and also breed marathoners when they're breeding with marathoners. Really interesting.
Yeah, he's come to us for several of these too. Battalion Bay came from Ready Set Battalion. That one ended up being pretty good with Ignorance Bay. Delicious Bay came from our stud Forever Delicious. So yeah, it's looking pretty good with Ignorance Bay. Another check in the column of breeding talent, right?
Yep, I agree. I think they have this one obviously, and I think we see some breeding talent manifest itself a lot in 1.0s where you have some that just produce dud after dud. Maybe they're pulling ancestors or whatever. And you have others like Evergreen Gates who just spit out nothing but their own genes going into the offspring. It's interesting.
Yeah. Evergreen's bred really well too. So anyway, back to the topic here. Lucky Maiden, pretty good. I think that's the best we've done to have 3 in the grand final. Of course, one is that Genesis Nakamoto on point that we bought that looks like a pretty solid sprinter, and it looks like it's going to qualify number 12, just sneaking in. Those same 3 of ours are going to be in the Nakamoto grand final. The other one was Supreme Evergreen. We mentioned Fat Mortal. Supreme Evergreen's coming from Supreme Boom and Evergreen Gates, as you mentioned. And then after that, we don't have any others in the Bloodline Grand Finals. No Sabos, no Finnies, no Buterins, which is unusual. Typically we have either a Sabo or Finny or multiple in those. We did really well last Lucky Maiden, so competition maybe getting a little bit stiffer in those. And then I talked a lot about the segmentation going on and what we were targeting on the preview show. We don't have a ton of representation in that lower segmentation. We've got 2 of them that are going to be in the exclusive and elite grand final. We've got 1 super rare coat that's going to make it by default. That seems to be a category that everyone just kind of totally forgot about. I saw a lot of super coats in. There was like 18 super coats, but there was only 5 super rare coats. And we happened to have one that we didn't even target this. It just happened to come out as a super rare. And so it's only got a handful of races. We kind of forgot about it and it made it in. So more dumb luck for Arbitrage there. And we're going to have 2 in the Mooncoat Grand Final as well, it looks like. So pretty successful Lucky Maiden. It's been a blast. Anything else you want to add before we spin the wheel, Kevin?
No, we'll see. I mean, I think it is successful in terms of qualifying. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out in the grand finals. I think, like I said, Zero Chaos is really good. Song of Grandeur, I think, is number 2. That one's really good. So I'm afraid those are going to run the table, but yeah, we'll bang our 3 up against them the best we can and see if we can get some winnings. But fun as always. Always enjoy these.
Yeah, and if you missed it last time, we ran a promotion that if you bought one of our horses before the start of the Lucky Maiden, you're entered into a raffle to win 10% of our profit in the Lucky Maiden, which is still not guaranteed to be anything. I like our chances, but a lot of it'll come down to catching a podium there in that overall, since we don't have that many bullets in the lower grand finals. But it'll give you some excitement to watch these grand finals with us. Even if you don't win it, we're giving, I think it's going to be, I don't know, like a 0.5% when it all is said and done to anybody that bought one, because we had 19 people that qualified, and we're giving 10% to one, and then the other 18 will chop up another 10%. So probably not going to be a huge payday. Also, before I spin that wheel, I just wanted to mention the other promotion that we did. If you bought one before the Stable Wars that Zombie ran, you ended up getting a cut of 33% of our winnings in that event, which came out to 0.02 Ethereum for each of the 12 buyers. They got $25 rebate essentially on their buys. So it was fun. We took second, and that, we would have liked to win, but congrats to Iceberg on that win, right?
Yeah, I mean, he ran away with that. That was just everybody else playing for second after he stomped on us in those first 4 races. But it was fun. Don't mind second place when it pays out. Pretty straight line like they did there. So great payday there. A lot of fun, and hoping we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, Granger kind of went beast mode on us, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that before we spin the wheel here. And we're going to spin the wheel for 2 reasons. We're going to spin it for our typical lend of the week, and then we're going to spin it to see which of our 19 buyers is getting that 10%. So if you don't care about the wheel spin, you can go ahead and fast forward maybe like 2 minutes here. We'll do this quick because we still want to get through a few more things, and Kevin's got to get back to work. All right. Triumph for Hours, Triumph for Terms, Grandeur Plan, and Diamonds. We got 3 really nice marathoners here, and then everybody knows Diamonds, the Super U, one of the best mids in the game. So let's just spin it away. Triumph for Hours. You've been saying it the past few weeks. There we go. When are you going to put Triumph in the lending barn?
Let's do tomorrow. It's the tournament tomorrow. We got a conditional, so that's irrelevant. Let's do tomorrow at noon Eastern.
And that's so Friday.
Friday the 21st.
Perfect. All right. And then I've got a list of the stables here that I'm going to copy, and I'll put those into the wheel. All right. So we got 19 stables here with a chance to win 10% of our profit. Good luck, everybody. 1 spin. Valkyrie. Oh, what a tease. GMZ.
Wow. GMZ.
It glitched on us. GMZ Stables, congratulations. You'll be getting 10% of any profits. Hopefully we have some in the Lucky Maiden 7. And then everybody else here on this wheel is going to get a small cut as well. So thanks for participating. Thanks for buying our horses. Let's continue to move on further in the show here, Kevin. So we want to talk about another successful breed that we had. And like I mentioned, actually, I think this is a good spot since we just did this promotion to talk about something that you and I talked about before, is potentially offering some sort of compensation if you do buy a Build-A-Breed from us and it turns out to be like absolutely glue. Like worse than we could have expected. I mean, even if it's like slightly worse than expectations, I'm open to giving some sort of compensation. We only sold like 2 Build-A-Breeds in the past month, so I'd like to start to incentivize people to come in and place those versus just using our females with their studs or other studs. I like having that in that seeing 2 of ours together. It's a good experiment for us. So I'd like to incentivize it. You and I talked about maybe offering a free horse if you bring it back to us and you spent, half an Ethereum or 1 Ethereum on a horse, and it's really disappointing, a lot less than you expected. We'll give out a UUU that we've bred for 20% of that value. So if you spent 0.5 Ethereum, maybe we give a horse that we're valuing that's unraced at 0.1, or if you spent 1 Ethereum, we give out a horse that's at 0.2 Ethereum. You seem to be on board with that. You like this idea?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it's really all about aligning the outcome with the price, right? Like everything's priced in ZED with the massive upside intact. So if you don't hit the upside, it becomes a very negative buy. So we want to do our best to close that gap a little bit. And I think it's really fun to do another unraced, even if it's a lesser value, because you get that same upside chance once again. So I'm a big fan of this. Hopefully it helps ease the pain of getting that dud that we all get sometimes in breeding, but that's the goal here.
Right. It's like you get two rolls of the wheel. So even if they both stink, you get to have that experience, which is what it's all about. What we're trying to provide here. So, yeah, let's do it then. If you guys want to come, and I mean, if you spend a substantial sum with us in the past and want to reach out to us, I mean, I hope we don't get 100 people that spent $100 asking for a $10 horse from us. But if you did and you feel like you've been shorted and Zed is kicking your ass, reach out to us and we'll see what we can do, because we want to make it right. We're not trying to take advantage of anybody or anything like that, right?
That's right. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about I mentioned we've only done 2 of these Build-A-Breeds in like the past month, and they've both been really good. Zero Chaos was number 1, and the other one came from our guy Reggie. He did Butterball with Verve, and this one, I don't know if you're familiar with this one, Kevin. It's called a
Positive outcome.
A positive outcome, right? Let me pull up this.
Willed it into existence with a name like that,
right? This one looks really good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I hadn't seen this one in a while. It's one of those that you see on the tracking class one, but I don't overlap with it too much, so I don't look twice. And then, yeah, looking at it recently, it's produced quite the resume in its first month or so.
Let me find the tab here. All right, so again, it's coming from Butterball and Verve, and we charged 1 Ethereum for this breed, so it was pricey. Verve, and this was about a month ago, I would say, so maybe a slightly different market, not too much different though. We charged 0.7 Ethereum for the female breed with Verve, who is an awesome 1.0 sprinter with a good lineage that kind of lines up, and then Butterball is our 2.0 sprint stud exclusive. So we can see here, this horse is 37% win rate. 87% of the time it's finishing in the top 6. It's really beautiful distribution of finishes and flame pattern. Everything about this is great.
Yeah, it's somewhat surprising outcome, not from the distance preference perspective, but both the Butterball and Verve have good amount of variance. Like Verve is a very U-shaped horse. Butterball has that long L shape that lets it win. And I don't know who it pulled from or where the variance went, but it's got a lot of stability in those charts, but also a ton of distance preference and base ability with those win rates. So a really interesting outcome. I think it's an elite too, right?
It is.
It should
Yeah,
absolutely
really
clean
good
up
elite.
those conditionals when they come, and it's a filly. So this is a really, really positive outcome.
How would you be valuing this as a buyer and seller now, Kevin?
If I were selling, it'd probably be four to five I'd look for, and on a buyer probably 2.5 to 3. But yeah, I think this is a really good horse. If you're selling below 4, it's probably because you're just want to take a break from Zed, because I think there's a lot to like about this horse, especially in the next era of Zed when you're racing against like horses. This is going to be a really good elite.
Yeah, I love it. What kind of comp do you have for this horse?
Oh gosh. Trying to think. I mean, it's got some flames and paid, some not, right? But it's super left skewed. I mean, it looks like a slightly more consistent butterball, really. Like it doesn't have the super win equity like butterball does, but that's probably a reasonable comp in terms of overall value as a racer and ability.
Makes sense. All right, let's move on to keeping it real. So, two of the horses that we bred for the Lucky Maiden, they turned out pretty poorly. Number one, the creation of Newton, and it doesn't look that bad, but we know it's not very good because it lost flames in a sprint to one of our crosses that we bred. Is kind of the tell here, right? It's only got 10 races. Doesn't look that great off the bat. Again, this is coming from Newton and the creation of mortals. We did this breed once before for a buyer, and what's the name of that horse? Newton's Abomination. And that one turned out pretty well. We decided to run it back, and this one is not looking great, is it, Kevin?
No, I was excited for this one too. Like
up until that one race.
I was, yeah, even before we bred it, like the match just makes so much sense. And Newton's Abomination looks like a solid outcome if you consider it not as like the best outcome. I think here, yeah, this is definitely one of the, call it, lower 25% tile of the outcomes you could have. And it looked okay. It's one of those where you're just kind of running the races, you're not getting the wins you like, but you hold out hope until you lose flames, and then yeah, the one it lost was just not a very tough field, and it got the fourth to add insult to injury. So now if you look at the placement chart, it's kind of giving us that middle finger with those third places. So just a catastrophe of sorts here, but I would still breed them again together. I think the match is nice.
Yeah, so the next horse we're going to talk about is our Ready Set Boom Delicious Irony offspring, and it's kind of a good segue to this conversation here because I'm curious what you're valuing this creation of Newton as, because it's got some breeding value. It doesn't have like a great place in our stable. We'll probably still breed it, but we're at that point where we're breeding so many of these a cycle, and so I guess it probably has more value in somebody else's stable as a breeder. I mean, it could be, you know, a class 3 fun horse to play with, but what kind of value would we be giving up a horse like this at? What would you be asking for?
Probably like 0.7 or so, I think, where you're not expecting much on the track. I think it's pretty clear. Yeah, like you said, it may have some fun in class 3 or do some conditional racing, but it is a filly. It has a pretty flawless ancestry tree, so like it doesn't take much to pay off 0.7 in terms of premium breeding. So it'd be in that range, and you just wouldn't expect a ton on the track from this one, but you'd want to keep at it with breeding, maybe not totally premium, but like solid 0.1 to 0.2 pairings.
That fee. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And then the reason that I asked that is because I asked you if we should be looking at selling this other horse here that is keeping it real, Irony of Boom. And if at first glance, this is the thing, if we listed this, out on the open market, at first glance, somebody could think this is a potentially really good horse. We know that it's okay, right? It's probably similar to what, Delicious Boom, another one from the same pairing, maybe a little bit worse than that. You think?
Yeah, I think Delicious Boom is a fairly good comp where maybe not quite as much variance. We'll see how that plays out from the right portion of the graph, but yeah, it's likely one that you'll just pity point, or it'll win occasionally, but really just average class 1 racer.
Right. And so it's a tough place because we want to do the community right. We don't want to come in and, overcharge for this horse. We would like to put this horse in somebody else's stable that knows what it is aware of what they're getting, and is buying it, for breeding value, to race in pity points, to potentially as a, speculative buy for progression. This is a horse that could potentially progress really well as a legendary coming from two really nice parents. So, we don't want to just throw it on the open market, but it doesn't have a great place in our stable. I mean, we'll breed it out, we'll sell its breed, so it has value to us. I don't know. You mentioned like 1.5 to 2 Ethereum is probably what we would call fair market value for this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, I guess, when you're selling in ZED. I think right now, probably 1.5 is about fair. But once again, it's not a price for everybody. We want to make sure people know what they're getting with this. It's definitely a bloodline buy. Some people really buy that. Some people think it's BS. We tend to think think there's some truth to that. We just simply have this pairing 3 times, I think, already. And they've all been fillies, really, which is really interesting. And we welcome that, but we just don't have as much incremental need for a horse like this. So that's where I think we'd price it. Otherwise, we could always breed it in house, add it to that grandeur plan list, but it'd probably be better suited in somebody else's stable.
Yeah, agreed. So if you're interested in this at that price, hit us up. But it's going to be running in that Moon Grand Final. So it had a chance at the overall Grand Final until a couple of our others jumped it. It had a late fall. I think it ended in like the teens for the Zombie Maiden. So
yeah, we had 18, 19, and 20 in those standings. And I think that was like 13, 14, 15, and the Nakamoto one. So that was a tough side of the bubble there.
Yeah, it was fun. We weren't looking very good. We did some late breeds. We bred third head. That one actually, our third head Strider kid, Star Strider kid, didn't end up doing all that well either. It still hasn't finished. I don't think it's going to qualify for anything. You'd know better, but our late creation of Mortal breed that we did probably with 2 days into the zombie turned out well. And then we had another, what was the Grandeur Plan one we did, or Supreme Boom we did late, right?
Yep, we did. So Evergreen, yeah, a shame because none of those got to run in the actual ZED Maiden, but we got the backdoor into the Lucky Maiden.
Yeah, we'll see if it was worthwhile or not.
That's right.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up here. Let you go, Kevin. But yeah, quick announcement: we're gonna have Cryptog. I think that's how you pronounce his handle from Haku come on next week. They've done some changes to their site, and I think they've been somewhat controversial in the community. I haven't really been tuned in, but we're happy to have him come on and discuss some of that and the direction that Haku is taking. Because we really appreciate the service that they've provided to the community. It's awesome having, not just the tools that they've got, but that really the marketplace is the key versus having to go on OpenSea. God, that was a nightmare, right?
Oh man, people don't even know a year and a half ago how terrible it was on OpenSea.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a scam after scam over there too. You can't click on anything. So yeah, teaser for next week's show. We'll be doing that. If you guys have any questions about Haku for Cryptog, feel free to hit us up with those, and we'll try to work them into the show. But we'll wrap it up here, Kevin. Great job in the Lucky Maiden. It was a blast. And follow Kevin at Arbitrage Racing on Twitter. I'm at Zed Diamond Hands. We've got an Arbitrage.Run account. Check out our site, Arbitrage.Run. Subscribe to the show. And we'll see you guys later.